Welcome to Biohacking with Brittany. I am so happy that you are listening this week. This is episode 179, which is wild. I love to talk about health and wellness and optimizing as much as we can, especially related to women's health. And I just try to cultivate a space where we can all kind of riff and learn from each other, whether it's on this podcast or Instagram or TikTok or my newsletter, anywhere really. So thank you for being here and thanks for listening. I just want to give a shout out to everybody who rated my show on Apple, on Spotify. Gosh, I cannot speak, on Spotify. And thank you so much for giving me 5-star ratings. So I think I mentioned in one of my last episodes, I really am looking for some ratings to help boost it because I had some trolls from Instagram who downrated basically my show. So if you can take a few seconds, open up Spotify, literally it takes 3 seconds. You just click 5 stars and that's it. There's no reviews on Spotify. It's just star ratings. And I would really, really appreciate that. I think I finally got it back up to 4.5 now, which is great. Unfortunately, sometimes people just troll you on the internet and it kind of sucks. And it went down to 4.1. And before that, I think it was at 4.7 or something. So every rating helps. So thank you for that. And thank you to everybody who does reviews on iTunes or Apple Podcasts as well. These ones are really cool because you get to write an actual review. So I always find it interesting seeing what people say from all over the world. Thank you for that. And thank you for keeping me at 4.9 on Apple Podcasts. And I just want to encourage everybody who is a content creator or a podcaster as well. I actually had somebody reach out recently on Instagram and I was saying I'm on today's 179 episodes. And he was saying that, I forget who he said, but one of the podcasts he listens to, they just reached 1 million listeners. And he said that 90% of his listeners came after 500 episodes. And honestly, it was really encouraging to hear because, I guess it was encouraging because right now I do 2 episodes a week, right? So for me to hit 500 episodes, it's going to be 2.5 years from now. And then, the landscape will be so different at that point. But it's encouraging just to show you that these big podcasts out there, the biggest ones, right? If you look at even people in this space, like Ben Greenfield or Paul Chek or other people like that, they have over 500 episodes, some of them even over 700 episodes, right? And they're massive, massive shows. So it really shows that it takes time to build stamina. It takes time to build an audience for people to get to know you over time. And it's not quick at all. It's when you get into podcasting, it's very much if you want to be big in the game, you are looking at a 5-year plan, in my opinion, unless you are famous. Unless you are famous or you have some sort of big following on some sort of platform, 1 million followers on Instagram or something like that, then it's a bit of a different story. But most of the time for people who are random people, the average Joe like myself, it will be a long-term play. And that's why ratings matter. That's why reviews matter. So I really appreciate that. And shout out to every single person who has been listening since day 1 or day, 100 or whatever, first year. Thank you for bearing with me as I get better and better with my interview skills and also quality of equipment and audio and everything like that. So I appreciate you being on this content journey with me, very much so. Next week, I am taking time off. Praise the Lord. I am so excited. I am going to Tofino, which is a small surfing community here in Canada. It's on the West Coast. And If you are planning a trip to BC, like the west coast of Canada, I really, really encourage you to try to get to Tofino. It is healing. It is magical. There's for so many reasons. I don't even know where to begin. I try to go to Tofino once a year because I value how healing it is. From a health standpoint, maybe I'll do a full podcast episode on this. Why people should move to Tofino for their health. From a health standpoint, there is very limited 5G, very limited EMF. The population is small. So we're looking at about 2,000 to 3,000 people who live there. However, the city, or it's not even a city, the town gets about 1 million visitors a year. So that's like just shows you what type of town it is, right? Very, very touristy. And so it's this little place and it's on the very edge of Canada. So when you look out to the ocean, when you're there and you watch these beautiful West Coast sunsets, when you look across the ocean, the next land is actually Japan. Like if you were to directly leave Vancouver Island and leave Tofino and travel across the ocean, you would get to Japan, which is crazy. So it's very remote, very stunning, and it's very, very special to my heart for multiple reasons. I really love it there. So low EMF, low radiation, low 5G, which is all great. We love that. Very much nature-based living. It's kind of hard not to when you're there. Big things are like fishing, surfing. Surfing is very big there. It's like cold water surfing. So you're not like surfing in a bikini. It's way too cold for that, but ample opportunity for cold water dips, cold water plunges year round. A ton of rain, some snow, but not really. And it's just kind of like that environment that it's very focused on living in nature. And I just love that. The other really cool thing about it, and it's same with like Ucluelet, which is like the little town like 20 minutes from it, same thing like on the West Coast, like on that strip of the island, is that there are 0 chain restaurants or chain retailers at all. So and I don't know the proper terminology for this, but essentially they are not allowed to build there. So you'll go there, there's no Starbucks, there's no Target, although there's no Target in Canada at all, but there's no like you'll go there and there's no McDonald's. There's nothing that you would recognize at it as a chain corporation business there. And that is because they have allowed it to only be locals. So you'll go and you'll see that the cafe will be called like Rhino Cafe, which is a local cafe owned by people who live there. Or the grocery store is like, I don't know what it's called, like Bob's Grocers or something. And it's literally like Bob and his family who run it. So it's really cool because it's so focused on supporting the community, the indigenous cultures there. And there's just no BS, McDonald's, A&W, whatever, Taco Bell ruining it, which is something that I really, really like. So I would suggest going there. If you're thinking about hitting up the West Coast of Canada and you want to go to Vancouver Island, send me a message on Instagram and I will give you my personal recommendations of where to go. I have stayed in many places in Tofino now, hotels, Airbnbs. I've gone in the winter, I've gone in the summer. I know the seasons, and so I can definitely help you out. I can make restaurant recommendations. There's really cute, like little retailers, like all these different things that I know. So that's just one of my favorite places. So that's why I'm riffing on it. I am going for a week and I leave Monday and I'm back Sunday and I'm taking the week off. I am also doing a full-on photo shoot, which is part of the reason that we're going. So I'm doing a photo shoot on Thursday and this is my rebranding photo shoot and I'm so excited. So I rented this Airbnb. It's like this beautiful house and it has a beautiful kitchen, perfect for shooting. Everything is white, everything's bright. It has a sauna. It has a cold plunge little pool. It has like a meditation room and a meditation deck. It has a hot tub, but I probably won't shoot in the hot tub. And then we're also going to shoot at sunset and do sunset photos, like sun gazing in nature photos. And I'm also going to do a cold plunge in the ocean at sunset and shoot that. So I'm doing, I think it's like 6 hours that we're going to do. We're going to get a bunch of photos. And I am so excited because I need my website updated. I need my photos updated. Everything is so out of touch and out of brand for me now at this point. And I know a lot of people probably don't think that when they go to my website, but I personally think that. And so it's time to upgrade everything. And I couldn't think of a better place to do it. Another thing I will say is like, if you are in the game like me and you're doing stuff like this, I really encourage you to use local people and local artists. So I'm using a local photographer. I'm using a local hair and makeup artist who live in Tofino. And again, like, I just want to support the people there. It doesn't make sense for me to get somebody from Vancouver and pay for them to travel there. Like, I want to support these people there. And there are a lot of skilled people who are contractors or freelancers or whatever, and they just want some support. So, and they're women, they're young, they're both young women. And I love supporting other women in business. I think that's really important as well. I tend to only hire women or hire female contractors. It's not necessarily like it's been on purpose. It's just kind of how it's happened. And I think it's also my comfort level. Like, I would rather do a photo shoot with females than I would with having a bunch of men around personally. So look out for that. I will probably not be posting on Instagram. I'll probably be posting maybe just on my stories. So follow along. We are bringing our boat with us. We have a little dinghy. It's called, the dinghy actually has a name. Her name is Donna the dinghy. And she comes with us when we do these types of trips. And she has a motor on her. So she has a 9.9 liter motor. And we're going to take her out and go to some of the islands. And we go and we put Moose in our dog. We put Moose in the dinghy with us, me and my husband. And he has a life jacket on. And it's so funny because he's a golden retriever. And so imagine a golden retriever in a green life jacket in a blow up boat on the ocean. It's like the most ridiculous thing ever. But, and so many people just love it when they see it in person. Like, they take photos of him and stuff. And it's so fun. So I just love being outdoors so much. So I'm really excited for that. I need time off. I need time away from my computer and my emails and just being bombarded with work lately. So I'm itching to get away and I'm so excited. So follow along my journey on Instagram at biohackingbrittany. And a shout out to some sponsors this week. I am working with Prolon, and I just announced that I think yesterday. And this is really exciting because I have known about Prolon for a few years now. And when I first heard about Prolon, I knew that they had this like 5-day fasting kit. And essentially I was like, okay, that's great. But like, I don't know if I want to fast for 5 days. And like, what does that mean? Do I get the benefits from it? So I actually did a full podcast episode with the Prolon team. That's coming out soon. So stay tuned for that. And we go deep into the science about how limiting your calories, but not necessarily full on calorie restriction for 5 days, can actually be very beneficial for you. You can get a lot from it. It can really be great for inflammation and weight loss and glucose control and these different things like that. So I'm excited for that to come out. And since I started working with them and heard about them a few years ago, they came out with these fasting bars. And this is what I love because they have been scientifically proven not to increase your glucose levels or raise your ketone levels as well. So I like this because you can have this in the morning with a glass of water or a cup of coffee and not have to worry about a major sugar rush first thing in the morning. And especially for us females where fasting can be too harsh and too much on the body and be too stressful, I feel like this is a really soft way to get some benefits of glucose control and management without being extremely restrictive. And so I love these bars. I really recommend them. They also taste really good. And I am not just saying that. I have tasted so many healthy, quote unquote, bars that taste like garbage. Like they taste so artificial. They're like artificially sweet. They're just awful. And these ones I actually approve of. And my husband likes them too. And that's saying a lot because he really hates some of the very healthy snack things I end up getting. So he likes these a lot and they have some great flavors. So definitely check that out. If you are interested in trying those as well, you can use my discount code biohackingbrittany in all capitals. And a shout out to AG1. I actually need to reach out to them because I have run out. That's how much I take AG1. This is not even like some people still think it's like a greens powder. It's so much more than that. It is a superfood. It is a whole food in itself. And I really like taking it. It really covers my bases for vitamins and minerals and everything that I need kind of to get through my morning, get through my day. It is a safety blanket for filling in nutritional gaps that you might be having in your diet. So I love AG1. I definitely recommend it. Check it out if you haven't tried it yet. And get the travel packs. Those are my favorite. I'm bringing some with me next week when I go away. And a shout out to Juna Day. Oh my gosh, this is my friend's company. I am so excited about it. And I've been giving her so much love because first of all, she deserves it. Secondly, she has created EMF blocking clothing for women focused on women's health and reproduction, I guess, or fertility, that type of thing. And I love this. And I'm so excited to be recording my podcast with her soon. And we are going to dive all into this. And so if you are looking for cute clothing as a woman who's into biohacking and longevity and wellness, and you're like very anti, EMF, or maybe you're super sensitive or you're worried about 5G like myself, I don't want to say this, but like you kind of need every single thing from this company. I will link it in the show notes and it's on my website. I have the play suit in black. However, she actually just messaged me and she was like telling me what she wears when she goes on her Peloton. She wears, I think, I must pull it up. I guess it's like a onesie. It's like a shorts onesie, but it's tight. So you can like exercise in it and it's made for like movement. And she's like, yeah, like when I'm on my Peloton, I actually wear this because Peloton obviously is wireless and it connects to Wi-Fi. And she's like, I just want to block the radiation that's coming from my Peloton. And I was like, girl, that is such a good idea. So now I've told her, I was like, you need to send me one of those or I'll buy one. It doesn't matter. So there's really something for everybody there. And again, I'm very much into supporting female founded companies that are in the wellness and biohacking space, especially biohacking, because there aren't a lot of them. So us female biohackers have to stick together. So shout out to Marjorie and her company, Juna Day. Check them out. Discount code is Brittany, all capitals. And enjoy this episode. This is with NOOCI or NOOCI, depends how you say it. We are diving into traditional Chinese medicine and how it can be supportive for the menstrual cycle. One of my favorite topics. I will catch you next week. There will be a couple of episodes coming out even while I'm away because I plan my content. And enjoy this episode. Message me on Instagram if you want to chat or if you have any questions about your health, and I will catch you soon. Welcome to Biohacking with Brittany. I am so excited that you are listening this week. We are diving into all things traditional Chinese medicine today, which I'm really excited about because I haven't been talking about this. I haven't talked about this in actually quite a while. So I'm excited to kind of do a little bit of a deep dive. I have quite a bit of experience with different types of Chinese medicine, and I thought it was obviously so appropriate to have an expert come on and really help educate us and talk about the different use cases for it and why it's growing in such a popularity. So I am bringing on Jillian Capodice. Is that how you say your last name, Jillian? Did I just totally botch that?
Say it with an Italian flair. It's Capodice.
Capodice. So completely wrong.
Close enough.
Close enough. But thank you for correcting me. And you are one of the scientific advisors for NOOCI. And I I'm super excited about these products. I've been talking about it for a bit now. I use their menstrual support herbal blend, which we will get into. But before we start with that, what is traditional Chinese medicine and how do you kind of explain this to people?
So, great question. And thank you so much for having me on. I did listen to a couple of your podcasts, and I think you talked about acupuncture like a month or so ago.
Yeah.
And so traditional Chinese medicine is like what we call a whole medical system. It uses different modalities like acupuncture, like herbal medicine, nutrition, and mind-body stuff like qigong, meditation. And if you go to someone that specializes in traditional Chinese medicine, they may do one of those things or they may do many of those things. Also, sometimes people just use the acronym TCM. And so people sometimes just use that to mean acupuncture, or maybe they use it to mean TCM herbal medicine. But it's a pretty broad term that encompasses all these different modalities.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you think that TCM differs from Western medicine?
So it differs a lot because it's a traditional medical system. The way that I explain it to people is like when you're learning biomedicine or Western medicine, you're learning like anatomy and physiology, meaning you're learning about the organs and knowing what the heart does and how the circulatory system works. And then when you talk about something that the body regulates very commonly, you talk about the interplay between the anatomy and how that's working. Very similar in traditional Chinese medicine, but it's just different anatomy and different physiology and concepts that we may or may not know about. So one of the main concepts is qi, which you probably heard about, which translates as energy. So qi is a type of substance that is in all living things. And then you have other parts of the anatomy from a TCM perspective, like the organs, same organs that I just mentioned before, but they do different things according to TCM. And then you have a meridian system, which is like a network of conduits of energy and blood flow and fluids. And it's the interplay of those aspects from a TCM perspective, your qi, your blood, your essence that are moving through the organs, moving through the meridians that are what TCM is. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It does. So how do you think, like I've used TCM in different ways before, whether it's acupuncture or herbs or different things. And I think the concept of qi is very interesting. And especially when I get acupuncture done, me and my practitioner, we talk about it a lot. And it's honestly kind of hard to explain to people who have never done something like acupuncture, which is all about really helping with the flow and helping with the flow of energy in the body, which essentially is qi. So how do you really think that influences our health and well-being? And like, how do you kind of describe the concept better to somebody who maybe has only ever really done Western medicine and doesn't even really understand it?
It's a great question. I usually explain it first by just sort of showing people like the Chinese character or the radical. And I'm actually not Chinese and I can't really read the traditional font, but but I do know many of the different characters. And I think if you explain it to them, you can look at it. And the character for qi is like a rice grain on the bottom and then steam on the top. So it's representing both like a physical and a potential energy. And then the other way to explain it is that there's not just one type of qi. We say, okay, qi is blocked, qi is excessive, qi is deficient. Or like you're saying, how do you explain this concept of energy? Think of things that give you energy in your body. It's going to be the breath, your food, your surroundings, people, etc. So it's this concept of qi is both very, very obvious, like the food you eat turns literally into qi, but it's also how you're breathing. You have different types of qi that regulate and move throughout the body with regard to the breath, with regard to the food, and then all the other things. So it's not just one type of qi, and it's this concept that energy, we're energetic beings, is going through us and coming from all different sources.
Are you concerned about EMF or radiation? Are you a woman in the health and wellness and biohacking space and you're just looking for cute clothing that blocks radiation? Maybe you are pregnant, maybe you're trying to get pregnant, maybe you're postpartum, or maybe you just really want to block your body from harmful frequencies that you are constantly bombarded with in our society these days. Finally, we actually have a cute solution by a company called Juna Day. This is my friend's company, and I am so excited to be working with them. It's essentially airplane mode for your wardrobe. If you're flying, if you're working in the city, if you are sensitive to EMF, this is the clothing that you need. It is so cute. I have the play suit in black. I wear it at least once a week because it's just so comfortable. And it just blocks all of the 5G that's around me, the Wi-Fi, everything else that we're constantly exposed to. As somebody who is on her preconception journey, soon to be fertility journey, it's really important for me to block my, to be honest, my ovaries from this type of thing. I want to protect my mitochondria. I want to protect my body in general from all of the frequencies. So this is what I'm wearing. And if you are sensitive in any way or worried in any way about EMF, you need this. Check out Juna Day. They have a bunch of different really, really cute designs. So they have a belly band, which is if you're pregnant, you can just wear it underneath your clothing. They have a unitard, which is cute. They also have maternity legging. They have a play suit, which is what I have. And then they also have a bodysuit, which I kind of want as well, because you can wear it under anything, made for all day wear. This clothing is so adorable. Definitely check it out by Juna Day. Use my discount code Brittany in all capitals. It will get you 10% off. And please tag me if you wear this, because someone tagged me the other day. She's pregnant. She's wearing the play suit and it was so cute. I was so happy for her. So tag me if you wear it. I want to see it. And I'm just so happy and excited that we have another female founded company and brand in the biohacking space. It's so needed. So please go support this company, Juna Day. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think it's really interesting to look at it. I also just like thinking about this now, I didn't really realize this, but I've worked with naturopathic doctors. So I'm in Canada, so it might be a bit different from where you are, but I've worked with naturopathic doctors that do acupuncture and they study acupuncture as part of their program here. And then I've also worked with TCM doctors who also are licensed to do acupuncture. So it's interesting that like that single modality actually is across different types of medicine, which you actually don't find a lot. Like I wonder, I guess I've never thought of that, but
that's a good acupuncture, like the practice of it, the insertion of tiny little needles into the body. It can be practiced in what I describe as like a very physical medicine way that people do, like trigger points or something. But it also can be very rooted in most often, if you see a TCM specialist, in the traditional medicine theory, which is the deep and elegant theory of traditional Chinese medicine, or it can be used, like I said, in a very physical way. The needling aspect has a ton of physiologic response just from the needling alone. But whether you apply the needles with a classical Chinese framework or Japanese style framework or a trigger point framework, it is different. I think that's a good question and a good point.
Oh, that's interesting. I actually didn't know that. I didn't know that there was different methods to applying the needles themselves. I just thought that there was a single way to do it. What's interesting as well is I was talking to somebody the other day and she's going through IVF. And I was saying to her, I think my acupuncturist told me this, that like acupuncture significantly increases the chance of success when going through IVF. Do you know anything about that or any stats that you can give to us about that? Or even maybe why you think that might be the case?
So yes, there is acupuncture as a modality. Like I said, it does have a lot of evidence-based or scientific type studies behind it, meaning that you design a study and say, is this going to work? Is this procedure going to work for X? And there are clinical trials that have shown that when you add acupuncture that potentially your IVF transfer rates are going to be improved compared to a group that didn't have the acupuncture. Whenever you take a step back and you look at the scientific literature, there usually are going to be studies that are positive and negative. And then what happens is researchers do these type of meta-analyses or systematic reviews, and then they pool all these data together. So one study is great if it's positive, but you need it to be repeated and replicated. And that's in general how anything that's being studied is being looked at from an evidence medicine-based perspective. So I work in a conventional healthcare system, so we do a lot of clinical trials and things like that. But there is this nice amount of data and numerous trials that are done throughout the US and Canada and internationally that have shown that acupuncture, women, if they're divided into this group, they get acupuncture or they don't, and they have the transfer rate that potentially they have a greater chance of success. But you'd have to get into a longer discussion about clinical trials and how to control for that. The other point that you were asking, why do you think acupuncture works, is really probably because acupuncture definitely affects the body's nervous system and what I would call like a neuroendocrine type thing. It doesn't, when the needles go in the body sort of sees them as foreign, and you have a little inflammatory response that's going on, something that's happening locally. You have neurotransmitters that are released from nerve cells, and then they float around the blood. And during when one is trying to conceive, and just in general, if you're trying to balance your menstrual cycle, this is not from a TCM perspective, this is from a biomedical perspective, but there's probably some interaction between the acupuncture needling and the hormones and the neurotransmitters that affect all these things, which are why the acupuncture can be really effective to help regulate some of the symptoms that come along with premenstrual syndrome, or perhaps calm the nervous system down when you're going through IVF, before and after transfer, things like that.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I think when I was looking at it and I was doing some of the research a while ago, what I saw was basically exactly what you're saying. It's like the hour that you spend doing the TCM is so great for stress management that in itself could actually just be the reason why it's really helpful for IVF or for things kind of related to that. And I was doing acupuncture for a while, like every other week for about, 5 months or something like that. And it was because it was of my menstrual cycle, and I was really trying to balance it out and shorten it and regulate ovulation and help with my symptoms. And it made a massive difference for me. It really did. I went from very irregular long cycles to around 32 days, 30-day cycles. And I think one of the biggest things I did was that regular hour I spent every 2 weeks doing acupuncture, and I would fall asleep on the table. And I used to get it midday, caffeinated, not right before bed, midday during the work week. I would go and get acupuncture and I would fall asleep. And I just think there's something about the emotional release that came from it. I don't know. It just made a big difference for me.
My next partner I want to talk about is Athletic Greens. So I take AG1 by Athletic Greens literally every single day. And I first gave AG1 a try when I was traveling to Costa Rica. I really wanted something to support my gut health, boost my energy, keep my immune system in check, and really just support me while I was traveling and not home. I quickly fell in love with it. And now that I'm back in Canada, I still take it every single day. And I take it in the morning before I have any type of coffee. Typically, it's the first thing I have in the morning. And it makes me feel just fantastic. I feel like I'm starting my day off on the right foot. I feel like I'm covering all of my nutrition needs right from the get-go, which is super important and such a healthier way to start than just having coffee on an empty stomach right away. So I'm just obsessed with taking it. And If you want to take ownership of your health, today is a good time to start. Athletic Greens is giving you a free, 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. So those are the same travel packs that I took when I was flying. Go to athleticgreens.com/biohacking with Brittany. That's athleticgreens.com/biohacking with Brittany to check it out today. It's also linked in my show notes and on my website everywhere. You know that I seriously value the menstrual cycle and women's health. And I really care about helping women create more regular cycles, reduce their symptoms, and be able to just kind of live life easier and have more fun and not have to worry so much about these health issues that kind of plague a lot of women, including myself. So I've recently actually been taking a new supplement by a company called NOOCI, and the supplement is called Noo Moon, and it is a supplement completely focused on menstrual support. It is rooted in traditional Chinese medicine and uses herbs like ginger, ginseng, and jujube that provide a ton of benefits, including relief from menstrual cramps, reduces bloating, helps ease PMS symptoms, and supports irregular cycles. I deal with all of that here and there. It always changes cycle to cycle, but I definitely deal with irregular menstrual cycles every single month or more than that, So I really love using this product, and I love using something that's rooted in nature, but also traditional Chinese medicine, because as someone who does acupuncture a lot and really respects traditional Chinese medicine, I can see how it can play such an important role in our tools that we use to help heal. So if you're dealing with any type of PMS, irregular cycles, you need menstrual support, I really suggest this product. I'm not taking anything else like it, and it's really fantastic. So that is by NOOCI, and it's the supplement called Noo Moon, and I will link it in the show notes. It's also on my website. Go for it, try it out. Let me know what you think. You can use my discount. It's all linked right there for you.
So that's wonderful. It's great. And that's generally how it works. If you're going for, some PMS symptoms, or you're going to regulate your cycle like you were doing, you go for a couple of months, maybe 2 to 4 months, and you do acupuncture, you do herbal medicine, you support it with the diet and all the other things that you talk about. And it can absolutely help to regulate the cycle on its own. Not always, but often.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think about the trend of like acupressure becoming more of a thing? Like I've seen a lot of like home products that you can actually buy that help support this. Like, do you think that can kind of do the same thing? Or do you think there's a difference between the success of like acupuncture versus acupressure?
There's definitely a difference because the needles are different versus just the pressure. But I think that it's wonderful to teach people acupressure because, first of all, it empowers them, and then they get interested in TCM. They learn more about their body, and you can look at it just from a muscular perspective, maybe trigger points and things. But there are so many great points for just calming your spirit, for helping your GI symptoms. And I think it's wonderful to learn acupressure. You can teach it to other people. It's really good for kids. So it's not technically as strong, but it can be very powerful.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I know there's like the acupressure mats that people lie on.
Have you tried it?
I've done it once. I don't own one, but it's something that I would be interested in getting. It's kind of painful. I don't know. What do you think about them?
I actually haven't tried one either. I just go to my friend and have them treat me, but I should definitely try one. But do you get other body work, like anything that's acupressure or based or anything like that?
Yeah. So I have this ball that has like spikes on it. I have a couple of them. And that you can like roll on your body, and that feels really good. I really like that one. That's probably the most I've done in terms of acupressure.
Okay. Well, there's definitely some great points that you can use. the ones that people know, the one on the hand for like headaches and things in the head. And then there's the one on the wrist for GI symptoms and nausea and bloating and things like that. But you should try the acupressure mat and report back to us.
Yeah. I was actually thinking about like if I got one and putting it in my sauna, like when I get my sauna and just lying on it in my sauna.
Then you're getting like a multidisciplinary treatment all at once.
Yeah. I wonder if the metal, like, I guess it depends what it's made out of, because if it's metal and it gets hot, that's not going to be great. So,
all right. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but it would still feel really good. And I know a lot of people really like them. And then there's also, I think there's like different things you can do for your face as well. That's like separate. That's kind of like acupressure, or even like I see a lot of like acupuncturists doing facials now for like, I guess, anti-aging, but in a very natural way.
Yes, that's a whole different thing. The microneedling, acupuncture needling can be very effective, again, just from the needling perspective. And then if you combine it with the constitutional things that you are trying to rebalance from a TCM perspective, it's excellent. Also good to do it if you have very deep set in things. It might be difficult, but it definitely is rejuvenating, and you can usually see results like when you're leaving the office.
Nice. That's great. So for people who are like trying to understand chi and like maybe know it better now, how do you think someone would know if their chi was off balance or stuck? Like, what are the symptoms, or what do you typically see?
That's a good question. That's a pretty broad question. I think some people are very in tune with their body and all their different physiologic processes. Some people are not. I think the things that people usually notice would be your common symptoms that might be related to your energy level, if you're having pain, how you're digesting, things that you might be craving. All of those things are really, in a way, signs of imbalance. If things are going very nicely and you're sleeping well, you are pain-free, then to that end, in a way, everything is flowing very well. But it's not also that that the chi is always I don't even know how to explain that. Did I answer your question as far as?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's a hard question, but I would say symptom-wise, how you're feeling, your emotional responses to things, your general energy level, your digestion. Those are the main things that probably most people notice and then are related to being in or out of balance.
Yeah, I would agree. I also think your skin is a really good indicator of if something is kind of off balance a little bit. And like, it could be your face, like it could be like, let's just say like acne, or maybe like excessive dryness or something like that. But it could also be like a flare up of eczema. And it's like, okay, what is actually causing that flare up? Like any type of change that we suddenly see, I always kind of think about like, okay, what triggered this and what am I doing differently? Or how is my emotional state, or all these different things that can kind of impact it. So I guess like people just being aware of their body in general is really the biggest recommendation I have, which sounds simple, but a lot of people are just kind of out of tune,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, skin is great. Skin is the largest organ in the body. So.
Mm-hmm. So one of your products that I love is called Noo Moon. And this is a product that is a herbal blend of different adaptogens, and it really targets menstrual support, which I'm all about right now. So can you kind of explain this to us and some of the adaptogens and how they work?
Sure. I think when people take different supplements, or when they're new to TCM herbal medicine, one of the helpful things is just to understand some of the basics, which are that usually for TCM herbal medicine, it's a formula of different herbs. It's not just like a single component like curcumin, for example. And this is a traditional way to look at it, because you have to think about a whole plant. A whole plant has all these different type of phytochemicals within it. And it might have antioxidants. It might have essential oils. It might have different types of phenolic compounds, etc. And they all sort of work synergistically together. And from a traditional Chinese medicine herbal perspective, you're making a formula which has different herbs that also balance out the entire formula. So you might have some herbs that are in a greater quantity that are doing the warming part, and you might have some that are doing the moving part, and you might have some that are doing like the nourishing part. So the first thing when you're newbie to TCM herbal medicine is understanding that it's a formula, and the traditional way to take TCM herbs was through teas. And if you have a Chinatown, I think there's a Chinatown in Vancouver, and you go to an herb shop, you can go and you can see them making the packets of loose teas with different herbs and twigs and things, and you would boil that or it's called a decoction, and then drink that for X number of days. And then from a modern perspective, you can also make it into granules or capsules and stuff. And then it's easier to take over a long period of time. But I think that's the first thing to understand about TCM herbs, that usually they are going to be a blend of different herbs and that the components within it support one another. So the Noo Moon supplement is a wonderful balancing supplement for the menstrual cycle. It has a couple of different herbs in it that do support the menstrual cycle from a warming and invigorating perspective, and then some that do the nourishing. So when you're learning about the herbs individually, you say, for example, it has ginger in it. Ginger's properties, its taste and temperature properties, and what organs it goes to in TCM would be that it goes to like the digestive organs, and it's very warming and it's very nourishing. So you have to look at each herb like that, and then you combine them together and then look at the global formula and see what actions it does. Does that make sense?
Are you tired of feeling out of sync with your body's natural rhythm? Do you struggle with menstrual cycle related issues like fatigue, mood swings, and bloating? If you're looking to optimize your health and well-being, look no further than the Ebb and Flow Cycle Guide. This comprehensive guide is designed to help you better understand and work with your menstrual cycle so you can improve your energy levels, reduce PMS symptoms, and gain a deeper understanding of your body. With in-depth information on each phase of the menstrual cycle, you'll learn how to adjust your diet, exercise routine, and self-care practices to better align with your body's needs. One of the biggest benefits of the Ebb and Flow Cycle Guide is its user-friendly format. The guide is easy to follow and provides clear instructions on how to optimize your health throughout each phase of your cycle. Plus, it's packed with valuable information and insights that you won't find anywhere else. So whether you're a seasoned biohacker or you're just starting out, the Ebb and Flow Cycle Guide is the perfect tool to help you optimize your health and live in harmony with your body's natural rhythm. And with my expertise and guidance, you can trust that you're getting the best information and advice available. So why wait? Head over to biohackingbrittany.com to get your copy of the Ebb and Flow Cycle Guide and start living your best life today.
Yeah, no, it makes complete sense. I like that idea too. Like, I like how holistic it is and whole it is versus just trying to take one herb by itself and like hoping that it kind of like is this magic pill and it's going to do all of these things. It's really cool to see how much time and thought and effort and even science has gone behind you creating this blend of herbs, and the idea that over time this could really work. You have to give it time, right? And that's like with a lot of supplements, honestly. Like, you can't just buy one bottle and be like, oh, it's going to totally support my cycle now and everything is going to be fine. It's like, no, you have to be on this for a few months so that it can really work its magic.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's great to have some of your core thing, but also you might have to tweak it depending on your symptoms at some point, or add a different formula as well. But I think the Noo Moon is a great intro formula for TCM. It's very good for a lot of the common symptoms that women might experience with regard to cycle length, and then symptoms like bloating and digestive symptoms. And we just did a survey type study of people taking it and ask them to rate some of their symptoms before and then after. So that study is going on right now.
That's great. Yeah, it's good to look at it from that perspective. What do you have any, I don't know if like how much you're kind of in the testimonials in your company, but I'm curious if you've had any customers come back and talk about like maybe a specific success story that they've had using it, or just like from what you know, how it can really support women. Because I have a lot of women listeners and a large female audience. And, you know, it ranges from women struggling with infertility to perimenopause to, you know, endometriosis, like all types of things. So I wonder who it could really support the best, I guess.
Right. Well, it varies. I'm actually a clinician, so I practice TCM and I work at a medical center, so I have a lot of patients. So I use it for different types of symptoms related that might be related to these biomedical diagnoses that you're talking about. And I may or may not add some other herbs as well. From like the company side, the testimonial side, I definitely know that the founder and the other members of the scientific team, we've heard some great things about Noo Moon. And again, usually from a symptom perspective, but a lot of women might have different biomedical diagnoses that it can apply to. So I know that that's sort of broad, but can be useful for a lot of types of symptoms under the general gynecologic umbrella.
Yeah, it makes sense though, because they like these adaptogens and herbs, like they are so gentle that it makes sense that they would be able to kind of help different things depending on how you use them, which is so true for honestly a lot of traditional Chinese medicine. Like it's not just for one specific thing. Like you can kind of apply it to no matter what health condition you're dealing with. I would say, I mean, at least in my experience as someone who's done it for a few years. And yeah, I just think it's interesting to kind of hear the feedback on when people take such a gentle approach to some of their health issues that they're having. So I don't think I think it's just something great to kind of like add in on top of everything else that other people are doing.
Yeah.
Would you consider creating something that would be specific for like a specific women's health issue, whether it's like fertility or menopause, or do you think the blend that's in there could kind of apply to everything?
I think it doesn't apply to everything. So it really depends on what you're trying to balance. I mean, if you're talking about menopausal symptoms, you'd have totally different herbs in there that you would be using to treat some of the symptoms like hot flashes or fatigue or brain fog versus this one that really is a little bit more targeted toward premenstrual type symptoms, whether or not they're related to PMS diagnosis or PMDD or PCOS or endometriosis. The symptom cluster overlaps.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you think that more and more people are turning towards TCM maybe in the last few years, maybe even 5 to 10 years in your experience?
I hope so. I've been practicing for longer than that period. And I want to say that I hope so. I do think that people are still really being introduced to TCM. And I love to know that people are excited about it because it's a totally different way to look at your body and your health state. And I think it's very exciting to think that more people are excited about TCM and want to know about Qi and want to know about just like how people are really into cycle syncing right now. Like, what about TCM concepts or Eastern nutrition concepts? How do those overlap and how you can use it? I think it's getting more popular. I hope. I don't know for sure, but I think probably.
I think so. I think wellness and natural health in general has really boomed in the last 10 years, if not even maybe even 15 years, actually. Because I remember when I was a teenager and I was going through my first round of health issues that I kind of understood and knew of, there was no like understanding of what wellness was at that point. Like I was so new to it. And now I guess, especially with things like social media and podcasts, like it's great because you can kind of tap into anything and really learn about the different ways to heal, which we didn't have back then. So now I think it's great because more and more people are just so interested in it and realizing like you don't have to do IVF, like you don't have to be on birth control until one day when you want to have a kid. There are other options. There are different ways to support your body. And yeah, I just find it exciting and very exhilarating that we're at this point right now.
You know that I am a big believer in intermittent fasting, no matter the age, no matter the gender. However, it is trickier for women, mostly because of the impact it has on our hormones and our menstrual cycle. And honestly, a lot of the time, it can just be too stressful for us to be fasting every single day. And it can really cause menstrual irregularities, PMS symptoms, and all sorts of things like that. So I'm really excited to be taking and eating the new intermittent fasting bars made by Prolon. So this is a really cool idea. I have yet to see another company do this, and I've yet to see anybody even execute it somewhat well like Prolon. So based on the science of the Prolon fasting mimicking diet that keeps your body in a fasted state, even though the body is being nourished, the intermittent fasting bar is the first bar scientifically developed and tested to not break your fast. This combination of good fats from nuts and selected macro and micronutrients provides nourishment so you can feel fuller for longer and conquer your cravings while you fast. Eat in the morning after your overnight fasting period to achieve your intermittent fasting goals. Guys, that is amazing. I'm just like so impressed that they even came up with this idea, that these are even effective. And I am obsessed because now I can take and eat one of these bars in the morning, not worry about breaking my fast, not worry about spiking my blood glucose or my ketones, and still be nourishing my body without causing too much stress on it. And you know what? You know, these bars are successful and a hit when they are always sold out on their website. Like I just tried to order more and they were sold out again. So that says a lot about how much people are loving these and really, really enjoying them. Actually, if you go to their website, they have a couple of graphs as well that kind of show what it looks like glucose wise and ketone wise when you fast with water versus fasting and eating one of these bars in the morning. And there's no difference. So you can go check out the science yourself, go believe it, go read it, and definitely try these out. There's 3 flavors. There's chocolate chip, nuts and honey, and coconut macadamia. I like coconut macadamia the best, but you can definitely buy a variety pack and try them out yourselves. So go to the link to my show notes and on my website, buy Prolon, and use my discount code biohackingbrittany in all capitals to save on these bars. You definitely want to use my discount code. These bars are not super cheap, but they are worth it because they are so good for you and they don't cause any hormonal disruption.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And something like TCM is accessible to everyone, and the concepts are truly holistic, and it doesn't have to do with, products so much. It has to do with lifestyle and learning about your body from that perspective. So I think that the more people that are interested in it, that's great.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have any future like products coming out maybe this year or next year that you can kind of share and tell us about?
So did you try the Renew powder?
I have it, but I haven't tried it yet.
Okay, you have to try it, and you might want to try it, with or without your other supplements. It's actually being reformulated right now. And just like I was saying before, the traditional way to take TCM herbs was in a tea. And this is in a very convenient type of granule formulation. It tastes really good. And it again, because it's a TCM herbal formula, it has different components in it. The new formula has been tweaked a little bit to look a little bit more at some helping to balance sugar cravings, helping for energy and metabolism and digestion. So it's a great formula for the morning for people that might not want to drink coffee. And I think it's really excellent for midday. And you can have it hot or cold. You can put it in a smoothie. You can put it on top of oatmeal. You can do whatever you want with it. You could just chew on them. You could just eat the powder. So that new formulation, I think, is very exciting. And I believe that NOOCI is also working on a really exciting gut health product, but I'm not sure exactly what the final blend is going to be, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's great. Gut health is another one that has just popped off in the last 5 years. Like, I find everyone talks about gut health. It's just like, it's crazy. It's like, I think people talk more about gut health than they do maybe hormones. It's like hormone balancing and gut health just seem to be so popular. Maybe it's just like the world that I'm in that I think that. But
no, I think you're right. I think there are definitely things that are, gut health is certainly one that's being studied and talked about, all over the place.
I also think like so many people have gut health issues that it's just so relatable. Like, it doesn't matter how old you are, what gender you are, where you live, anything like that. Like, there's so many people who are struggling with indigestion or diarrhea, constipation, bloating, gas, like whatever it might be. So it's such a massive topic because the audience who's experiencing problems with it is actually so large. And then it kind of begs the question of like, why has it become so popular and why are more and more people having gut health issues today than they were before, which is like a whole nother thing in itself and probably has a lot to do with our food, especially here in North America. But yeah, it's interesting. And I think it's a smart idea that you're coming out with something that is targeted towards gut health so that you can kind of help people in a very gentle, natural way.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just from a TCM perspective, for people that are not familiar with it, the main organ pair that affect digestion is actually called the spleen and the stomach. So everyone thinks the stomach. But from a traditional Chinese medicine perspective, you have organ pairs, and the spleen is the major digestive organ in TCM. So when your spleen is out of balance, it can lead to many symptoms such as bloating or loose stool, sluggishness, cravings. And when you're using TCM herbs to rebalance it, you're using herbs that are going to affect those symptoms from the TCM theory perspective versus like taking just digestive enzymes or something like that. So again, the whole concept in the traditional medicine theory is very different than a biomedical theory, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. I think like I like to really layer my modalities. I feel like just as someone who's very into holistic health, I just think it's important to kind of approach an issue from multiple perspectives. And a herbal perspective is definitely top, like up there for me in terms of priority. And for like, just for example, like for gut health, like I already take digestive enzymes when I need them. And I already have taken things like aloe vera juice to support and soothe the gut lining. But then you can also take other things like herbal ingredients, specifically like in a capsule or even in a tea, like you're saying, maybe it's like a ginger tea to kind of help the digestion and the bloating as well, not necessarily just the enzymes or the leaky gut. So it's so cool to kind of layer this stuff and really, yeah, I just love it. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, it is exciting. I think if you just, like I was saying before about each herb in of itself has different properties, taste and temperature properties, and different meridians and organs that it goes to. So you're looking at those things in particular.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. So if people want to reach out to you and they want to try your products, how can they do that and where can they find you?
So the NOOCI products, they can go to the NOOCI website, and it's a great website because we do have I guess it's kind of a blog or with some great introductory articles about TCM if you're interested in that. So I would head to the NOOCI website to take a look at that. And there also is on that website an interesting quiz. There's a constitutional analysis sort of quiz that one could take. And I think that also gets people excited about learning a little bit about TCM.
Yeah, that's great. I've actually done that quiz. I thought it was really interesting. And the website is actually very good, I will say as well. I can tell you guys have spent a lot of time and effort into it because I see a lot of websites, a lot of health websites, supplements, everything like that. But yours is beautifully done. So it's really like it a lot.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. It's mynooci.com.
Yes. So I will link that in the show notes and on my website for everybody to find. Thank you so much for your time. This was great to just pick your brain about TCM. And I know my audience will definitely get a lot out of it.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Biohacking with Brittany. If you're interested in finding the show notes or the sponsors for this episode, you can do so on my website, which is biohackingbrittany.com. Remember to follow me on Instagram where I'm most active. My handle is @biohackingbrittany. And if you're interested in working together and you want to email me directly, you can do that. My email is info@biohackingbrittany.com. And I look forward to hearing from you and having you tune in next week.